All right, I'm realizing now from our last video on solving linear inequalities that if you come to a solution, let's say there's an inequality and you solved it and then you got this answer. Great. Now there's a lot of different ways that we can write this. This is actually an infinite amount of numbers. X can be anything that is less than -1. X can be -10, -3 trillion, 0. It can't be -1 or anything greater than it. So there's an infinite amount of answers, and there's a couple different ways that we can actually write this answer here. So one way that we can write this answer is we can actually write it as a solution set, basically, an interval. So we know that the smallest value that x can be is technically -infinity. And the greatest that it can be is just less than -1, but we can never really capture what that number is. So we say our answers basically butt up to -1, but just don't equal them with that open parenthesis. So that's an alternate way to write this interval. Another way that we can write it is set notation. So you make those fancy parentheses, the brackets, and you say x such that x is less than -1. But wait, I barely did anything. You're right. These are basically the same. An alternate way that we can write this answer is actually by graphing it, which is probably students' least favorite just because, I don't know, people don't like graphing, but graphing in this case just means a number line answer. So you can put a number line, you put the number that you care about, and then I'll do the answer in blue here. Because we can't equal -1, we're going to put this open parenthesis here and then color to the left of it. So the blue represents my solutions. Yeah, you can kind of see how this relates, right? This sort of points the direction that we want to go. Now be careful if you use the inequality as an arrow, because you have to make sure that the x is on the left-hand side. But you can see that there's a couple different ways to write these solutions, and I just wanted to make this video to show that. I'll do one more example. Okay, here's another example. This solution set is x is greater than or equal to 5. That means that all of our solutions are either 5 or greater. So we can write it in, I believe this is called roster or set notation. No, this is called set notation. This one here is our interval. It's literally an interval. It's going from something to something else. We're not bounded, so we go all the way up to infinity. X can be anything 5 or higher. Now in this case we have this closed bracket, and that's because x can equal 5, so we're not putting a parenthesis at 5. We actually can equal 5. The last way is graphing, once again, and graphing, we also put that bracket there because, again, we can equal 5. And you can use that trick if you want, that this is kind of like an arrow because our variable is on the left here. So we can show that we're going to the right. You can also just think, hey, greater than 5 is to the right of 5. So infinity, whether it's positive or negative infinity, always has open parentheses because we can't ever equal infinity or negative infinity. If you have an or equal to in your inequality, you're going to use a bracket, like in this example. And then if you do not, if it's just a less than or greater than, and no or equal to, you're going to be using the open parentheses like in the first example. So I just wanted to create this video to show that there's a couple different ways to write the solutions to an inequality.